Hello everyone, and I decided to make this video in English because I've done so many of them in Russian that there's no point of it making one more in Russian. I decided to address my fellow Americans, my tribesmen, Jewish community, because I'm frustrated and really disappointed in a lot of ways. What I'm trying to say is that I'm used to American Jews, Ukrainians, Russians, Europeans hear those things about Trump. Everything he's gonna do is wrong. Everything he did, yes, we said he was gonna be wrong, but he turned out to be right. But now we forget this, put aside. The future, we're gonna tell you in the future, we're selling you the future, that in the future, or what he's doing right now, even though he's not finished yet, he's wrong. So, but I'm not used to hear this, or I didn't expect to hear this and continually hear this from the Israeli sources, from the Israeli Jews. It's very disappointing, to be honest. And no matter what you do, no matter how you present the facts, no matter what kind of arguments you have, it doesn't work. President Trump, I think, is being treated unjustly and unjustifiably, more importantly. No facts, no basis for it. Kind of like anti-Semitism. Yes, the Jews have created great music, movies, written a lot of books, medicine, science, teachers, doctors, lawyers, legal system, but still, the world would be better without them. Yes, Trump's done all these good things. Yeah, he is President Trump. But still, I mean, it's better if it would have been Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Newsom or whoever, or Ocasio-Cortez. No, but not Trump. Trump, it's just something about him we don't like. But what? Well, exactly can't say. He's just bad. So I've been recently, not often, but sometimes I get invited to an English-speaking Israeli channel, I24. Many Israelis already gave up on me, but they're inviting me once in a while. And I was very surprised again, because this is kind of old journalist, irresponsible trick, I would say. When they invite you, they give you a first approach to a problem or a question, then they remove you, and they bring other people in that will criticize what you said, and they're going to have the last word, and so on and so on. I've mentioned this many times. So here this time, I'm invited, and very nicely I explain how, listen, you had the same problem with Trump, with Gaza and Hamas and the hostages, and he's tying your hands behind your back, and he's not letting you finish the job. But look how it turned out to be. Turned out to be right. Same thing with Iran. We're not done with Iran yet. We can see what's going on now, right? Let him finish the job. Let him do it before you criticize him, before you become a detriment to him, to President Trump. And I talk about Lebanon. How remember with Lebanon can't finish us with Hezbollah is not tying us. Just recently, just a month ago, we're seeing how Lebanon. So I bring all these facts, and then I bring facts about F-35. He's not selling F-35 to Turkey. He is the one that sanctioned the sale of F-35 to Turkey, remember? And none of it matters, really. And I'm saying, wait, I mean, he's playing, he's giving them a carrot, he's promising them things. He's trying to make it, but what do you Israelis want to do? Start a war with Turkey? Go ahead. Let's see what's going to happen. And President Trump is explaining why what Erdogan did without details. No, not good enough. So I'm explaining about F-35, about the helmet, about the wings, about all those other things. And it's not good enough. So they bring the two experts. One is a known and experienced diplomat. The other one is a top analyst. Neither one of them is lefties. Neither one of them are, Biden type or Obama type. But still, it's Trump. Once the word Trump comes up, and why Trump? Because I'm addressing your Prime Minister with respect, Prime Minister Netanyahu. In Ukraine, I say President Zelensky. In Germany, in France, in Great Britain, I address them by their title. That they're their people honored them with. Why don't you address my president as a President Trump? Why is it Trump? Is he your buddy that you drink beer every day with? Is he somebody that works for you? So it's Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Zelensky, but you, without kind of even respect to me, even just a human kind of conversation, you should address him as President Trump, not Trump. But anyway, that's just probably my reaction to things. But so I give all those facts. I give all those examples. They remove me from a program. And now they bring those two experts. And they don't have one argument. They don't have one example. The argument is Trump, or Trump loves leaders like Erdogan. That's their argument. That's their example. That's their fact compared to mine. But of course, I don't have I don't have a chance to rebut them because I'm no longer in the program. And I think that this is irresponsible journalism. What I'm frustrated with and what I'm surprised that it comes out of Israel more and more often, that it's coming out of Israel. So that makes me think that we should continue and fight with President Trump on his team. He's right. So on that note, please watch, make your own conclusion in it. But I'd like to hear your feedback. From my American or English-speaking friends. I've done too many of it in Russian. Okay, so Kapitan Yura, over and out. Watch.
So for more reaction, it's a pleasure to welcome retired captain in the U.S. Navy, Garri Tabach, former commander at the NATO Anti-Terrorism Center, joining us now from Kiev in Ukraine. Thank you so much for your time. So there are several topics to unpack here. Let's start with President Donald Trump saying he's prevented Turkey from attacking Israel, and he has high praise for Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as we heard there, calling him a friend, praising his loyalty. If he does give a green light to the sale of the F-35s to Ankara, how significant would that be? Your thoughts?
Well, firstly, thank you, Ms. Levine, for inviting me. It was always a pleasure. Again, we got to remember it was President Trump in 2019 who initiated the sanction against the sale of F-35 to Turkey and then pushed it through the United States Congress, which will now take a reverse. He's only saying he will consider it. I mean, what is he supposed to do? He is trying to make deals. He's making a deal. That is nothing else. That Turkey will have to do something to benefit our country or Israel if they're going to do it. If he's going to consider and if he's going to convince the Congress to reverse what he convinced them in 2019 to do against their sale of the F-35. Plus, also, there's a saying, and I think President Trump is a very much example of it. You have to keep your friends very close to yourself, but enemies even closer. So that's how President Trump has been operating, I think, all along with it. And like he pointed out, Turkey did do something. He's not specifying what it is that Turkey did for us, not helping Iran when we attacked them, unlike our other NATO allies, countries that prevented us and were a detriment in our war with Israel against Iran. Again, F-35, I think this is politicians talking, to be honest with you. And with all my respect to the Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's speaking to Israeli citizens and his electorate that it gets them excited. And President Trump is talking to the American electorate, the American people, because F-35 without Israel will not fly. This is just as simple as that. There are major components that are made in Israel for F-35, electronics, the helmet, major components for a helmet. And I don't know if you're aware of it, the wings for F-35 are made in Israel. So that plane will not fly without a helmet, without electronics, and certainly without wings. So I think if F-35 ever sold, again, this is only being considered. There's no reason for a panic. If it will ever be sold, to Turkey, Turkey will have to be nice to Israel. Otherwise, their plane will not fly.
Well, that certainly would be a concern in Israel, because you are correct. Politicians say what they need to say to their electorate. They smile and shake hands and look at the cameras when they need to. At the same time, there is a genuine concern in Israel about the aspirations that Turkey has. And we heard Benjamin Netanyahu saying moments ago that Recep Tayyip Erdogan has aggressive aspirations, obviously a concern in his words. He's saying such a sale would destroy the power balance in the Middle East. One can understand the concerns. Your take, your perspective.
Since when is Israel so concerned about it? Again, there's always been a disbalance. You have 500 million Arabs surrounding you. You have many things that you have to deal with in Israel and internally as well. F-35 will not be a major thing that will make a disbalance between I was stationed in Turkey for 2 years when I was commander at the anti-terrorism center, NATO anti-terrorism center there. No, there will not be disbalance. And Turkey does not share a border with Ukraine, with Israel, in Ukraine. So it's a Freudian slip. And again, I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu is speaking to Israeli citizens before the elections. The F-35, firstly, it's being considered. So President Trump is also maneuvering around saying, listen, if you're going to be a good boy, I'll buy you an ice cream over a weekend when I take you to the zoo. It doesn't mean he's going to give it to them because, again, it is not up to President Trump. It is up to our Congress, because President Trump in 2019 pushed it through the Congress. So at the end, he may say, listen, Erdogan, we're best friends. I love you, man. You did so much for me. We're best friends, But the Congress, it's the Democrats, they're so awful, it's terrible.
Well, just to be clear, Erdogan's views on Israel and the Israeli Prime Minister specifically are no secret. Of course, also Turkey's ties to Hamas are a concern. And of course, Israel faces existential threats from several parts of the globe at the same time. So the concerns certainly are palpable. That said, you alluded to the fact you are in Ukraine right now, and we know that Volodymyr Zelensky is also there in Turkey, the Ukrainian president, using his speech to urge allies to deliver air defense systems to Kyiv, where you are, to protect it from Russian attacks like the one we saw on the eve of this summit. As you know, the insights there on the ground, what can you share from there, the urgency of the support needed right now there in Kyiv?
There's definitely needs to be their entire families are being wiped out. There's so much destruction. And so it's a terror. I mean, I don't have to tell Israelis what terror attacks are, but the population here are being just simply terrorized and being killed. A lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of innocent people are being killed. So certainly the United States, the European allies, Turks, the Arab allies that we have in Persian Gulf, they also need to consider that there is another war going on besides Iranian war, and it is a global war, and it is Ukraine. It's a globalist war. It's not just between Israel and Iran, or between us and Iran, or between Ukraine and Russia. And we see that, and this is why I think quite often President Trump is being unjustly criticized even go back to Israel a year ago with the Hamas and Gaza, and how he's tying your hands behind your back without letting you finish the job. And we see now with the Hamases and how we're progressing there. Same thing with Lebanon. We see that unprecedented Lebanon is being recognized as the Israel right not to exist, but even to defend itself on the Lebanese territory, and that agreements are being signed with it. So all those things that President Trump is being, ahead of time, being unjustly criticized and ridiculed, like now, okay, well, he's selling F-35. He's so far away from selling F-35, but he may be using it as a bait. And again, there's another problem, that is Ukraine. Ukraine is suffering a great deal, and Ukrainian people are suffering a great deal. And
no doubt about
there is
that.
a separation between. So there's definitely during this NATO summit, some attention is going to be drawn away from Iranian problem, and some of the spotlight will have to be shared with Ukraine. But again, I think it is global. It's a mutual fight. The enemy is the same. Unfortunately, in Ukraine, in Israel, in China, in Russia, they don't see that. We all have a common enemy.
Well, we heard Donald Trump saying earlier, once again, he doesn't like wars. We wait to see what comes out of the summit. Retired Captain Garri Tabach, live from Kiev. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And now, to unpack all of that, we welcome to studio security analyst Yaakov Lapin, host of the Ross Handler Report, and Yaki Dayan, former Israeli consul in Los Angeles. Gentlemen, thank you both so much. So there is much to discuss, but I want to start, Yaki, with you. The image of Donald Trump praising the loyalty, the strength of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. When we look at these images, it might be smiles for the camera. It might be something behind the scenes that we're not understanding right now. Your concerns when you look at those images at the moment out of Ankara?
Huge concerns. I think that Erdogan represents the Islamic fundamentalism, the Muslim Brotherhood in the region. He definitely, he's a hub of the Hamas terrorist organization and other terrorists that are planning all kinds of things through Turkey. They are definitely calling for the annihilation of the state of Israel. He's playing a very negative role, and this is kind of an axis that was created with Qatar and other countries. But Trump has some kind of affinity towards Erdogan. We know that, and Erdogan played a very constructive role, bringing the deal with the Hamas and also the deal with the Iranians. So he highly considers Erdogan. He wants to thank him for that. But it's part of the misconception and misunderstanding of the Middle East. It reminds me how Trump said that Ashara needs to enter Lebanon and bring the place into order over there. This is part of the misunderstanding of the Middle East. Now, Erdogan is playing a very negative role. I hope that the F-35 deal would not materialize. Definitely, he has major constraints in Congress because the Turks have their air defense systems, the S-400 that they bought from the Russians. So there are constraints by the Congress. So it would be very hard for Trump to change that in Congress, and definitely in a Congress that he might lose control in a very short while. And this deal is not going to come to Congress before that, definitely. And more than that, we remember that after the Abraham Accords, Trump promised F-35 to the UAE, and nothing happened. They're still waiting for the planes to come. So I think that this deal is not going to happen. But the fact that Erdogan that Trump stands shoulder to shoulder next to Erdogan, this is some kind of a projection of a problem in the Middle East, and the weakness that the United States is currently projecting in the Middle East, whether it's the catastrophic deal with the Iranians, or not the deal, but the memorandum of misunderstanding, as we call it, and the other things. This is not a good time. But Trump, hopefully after the midterm elections, he would change course. He would then change his course towards the Iranians, and that would have implications on the entire region. So currently, I think this is not a good path, but things might change in the near future in the Middle East.
Yaakov Lapin, from Israel's perspective, watching this, whether the deal goes through or not, it is very clear how Donald Trump is viewing this ally in terms of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, how he is seeing this positive relationship at a time when the Prime Minister of Israel is literally on American television saying, not so fast.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, Turkey and Erdogan really pulled off a sort of scam marketing trick here by presenting themselves as a reliable and powerful NATO ally. What kind of NATO ally hosts Hamas? It would be like a NATO ally that hosts ISIS and Al-Qaeda and expecting the U.S. To come and pay tribute to this. The S-400, the fact that they have these Russian systems, which the Russians can use to get backdoor data information from the radars on these air defense systems. Just the idea of selling a country that has bought these advanced Russian air defense systems that are designed to deal with the F-35, I think that idea would make the Pentagon chiefs lose sleep at night. Just saying it publicly is really, in a way, sort of a humiliation for the American position in the world. And there are so many other things, Yaki touched on this, that are problematic. Turkey is bullying Greece. It's bullying Cyprus. It's not a coincidence that we heard in recent days about an Israeli-Greek Air Force exercise over Crete that reportedly involved Israeli refuelers, helping to teach Greek fighter jets how to do long-range strike missions. This is a very clear message that Israel and Greece both feel threatened by the same country. So at the end of the day, we're looking at a Sunni radical power that's trying to become the new old Ottoman Empire, trying to, in many ways, fill the vacuum that the Iranian Shiite axis has left, all the while enjoying the immunity and the credentials of being a major NATO member. And nobody except Israel is calling them out on it. So just the fact that Israel is publicly calling them out, that doesn't mean that there are not other countries that have the same concerns. There are Arab countries that are concerned by Turkey's role, and they're being much more quiet about it, as is their habit.
By the way, Yaakov, the German foreign minister just came to Israel just to pledge his support to Israel based on the statement by the Turkish foreign minister against Israel. So it was important for him to move through Israel on his way to the NATO summit just to express that.
And I'll just, that's an important point, and that's what we would expect from Western leaders to do. And the final thing I'll say here is that it's not just the F-35s, there's a much more likely deal, which is selling jet engines. It's called F-110 jet engines that Turkey wants to use to mass produce its own Kan, indigenously built fighter jet. It's selling these to Indonesia and other countries, and Turkey is developing a multi-billion-dollar defense industry, advanced. It's building missiles, it's building cruise missiles, it's building drones. And Israel has to be very, very vigilant that this technology does not end up in Syria, which is quickly becoming a Turkish proxy.
A major concern indeed, as we heard Benjamin Netanyahu outlining there just moments ago, concerns around the Middle East. Yaakov Lapp and Yaki Dayan, appreciate you both being here in studio as always. Thank you.